Homeowners at the end. It was our house for 6 months. It's been the only house on this old house that we got to hang out in. Like, not for an hour or two, but for a couple.
In 2000, what happens when the face of America's most trusted home renovation show refuses to play by TV's rules? When cameras stop rolling and the glossy renovations fade, there's a quieter, more powerful story hiding behind the drywall. One built not with hammers, but with strategy, silence, and sharp decisions. Kevin O'Connor didn't just inherit this old house, he reshaped it, quietly out-earning his legendary predecessor while guarding a secret past and making moves most fans never saw coming. There was a moment nobody saw coming. 6 years living under that roof, day after day. And somehow, our story begins not with the walls, but with a whisper of something missing. That gap in the record kept pulling us forward. And now, I'm telling you why you won't want to look away. Kevin O'Connor has built a household name, yet there's a secret no one expected. A moment that changed everything. Kevin's transformation didn't begin under studio lights. It started in a dusty construction zone, home, school, and playground all rolled into one. Growing up in Maplewood, New Jersey, around 1968, his childhood home doubled as a job site thanks to his father, a civil engineer. With 4 brothers and 2 sisters, Kevin didn't learn through flashcards. He measured wood, framed doors, and passed around hammers before he hit grade school. While classmates memorized spelling words, he learned blueprints by heart. That foundation wasn't just about building houses, it gave him instincts few TV hosts ever have. But life threw him a curveball at 19. Military training sessions ended with him collapsing again and again, blackouts that doctors traced to a heart murmur. And then, just as suddenly, every medical record from that time vanished. Gone. No explanation. That disappearance planted a seed of uncertainty that would follow him for years. He couldn't serve as planned. He couldn't claim what happened, and he had to find a new path forward. He turned to education. In 1986, he graduated from St. Benedict's Prep in Newark, a place built on discipline. By 1990, he'd earned a history degree from the College of the Holy Cross, learning how to connect events, build narratives, and explain them clearly. But he wasn't done. In 1999, an MBA from Boston University equipped him to walk into boardrooms with poise. When he finished, he wasn't just book smart, he was business sharp. Kevin dove into high-stakes banking. At Fleet Bank, he financed stadiums and major sports facilities, jobs that built more than money. They built cities. That success caught Bank of America's eye, and he climbed rapidly to become senior vice president in their commercial real estate division by his early 30s. He had the 6-figure income, the stock options, the corporate respect. From the outside, it looked perfect. And then, he quit. Walked away from it all. No one saw it coming. Why leave that salary? Because beneath his tailored suits, he still missed the smell of sawdust, the vibration of drills, the tactile truth of a solid wall beneath your palm. In 2003, he and his wife Kathleen bought a Queen Anne Victorian from 1894 in Beverly, Massachusetts. A dream home, yes, but quickly it became a nightmare. Kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms, all needed gutting. But the real devil was the wallpaper, layered like decades of regrets. They scraped for months. Round Victorian corners turned every wall into a puzzle. Kevin joked later, "We were scraping like crazy, and this stuff just wasn't coming off." But it wasn't just wallpaper. It felt like every season of his life had built up there, waiting to be stripped. One evening, at his wit's end, they did something most people don't. They emailed the crew of Ask This Old House. At the exact same moment, producers were casting a spin-off of This Old House. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. They answered, visited the house, filmed a segment, and Kevin treated it like a one-off fan moment. He never dreamed that this desperate cry for help would turn into destiny. It was Season 1, Episode 22 of Ask This Old House, airing March 6, 2003. Cameras followed Kevin, Kathleen, and the team through every scrape, plaster patch, and knockdown. But the real footage captured Kevin's instinct, his questions, his empathy, his intensity. Tom Silva remembered barely getting through lunch before Kevin fired off another question. That curiosity lit up the set, and producers recognized what viewers would feel. Here was someone who didn't just fix homes, he understood them. Kevin struck a pose with the crew afterward, convinced it'd be the only photo he'd ever take with them. But 3 weeks later, his phone rang at work. Senior VP. Kevin answered. Instead of a lone call, he heard, "We'd like you to host This Old House." Suddenly, he was torn. He told his boss to hold his seat for a year. He thought it'd all be over soon. But this was no prank. The producers wanted him at the helm of the franchise. This wasn't the first seismic shift. Before him, the show had already weathered 2 famous exits. Bob Vila, the original host from 1979 to 89, brought the show to life, but walked away after endorsing a home center rival and losing his place over conflicts of interest. Then came Steve Thomas, who held the role from 1989 to 2003 and even won an Emmy in 1998. But by 2003, he quietly stepped aside, leaving a gap that begged to be filled. And that's when Kevin stepped in. A banker turned archaeologist of old homes, he bridged the gap between expert and homeowner, between corporate polish and dusty reality. Since then, This Old House has aired more than 46 seasons, and in 2021, the brand even launched its own Roku streaming channel. Proof of how Kevin helped the show stay evergreen in a digital world. But here's where the tension rises. Recently, at 57, Kevin's been breaking his silence. Strange rumors are swirling. Whispers about his future with the show, some calling it a quiet exit. After over 2 decades, Kevin's been tapped to speak out. At the same time, sources suggest his net worth has grown in ways few expected, with estimates ranging from $4 million to as high as $17.8 million. That's a twist most fans didn't see coming. But the biggest twist? Kevin's not shying away. He's stepping forward to clear the record about the rumors, about his future, about whether this old house has been built on foundations that might be shifting. What he reveals next will change how people see him, and the franchise he's led for over 20 years. He slipped away without banners or final credits. No farewell, just a vague comment about wanting to sail and ski. It felt off, as though someone had flipped a channel mid-episode. He'd turned This Old House into the top show in its realm, then vanished, resurfacing on smaller DIY network projects. Fans were puzzled, producers grew uneasy, and whoever followed would face immense scrutiny. Yet the choice they made wasn't Hollywood. It was homegrown. Kevin O'Connor didn't audition, didn't send a resume, didn't even pitch himself, and still got the job. That's a moment that begs the question, what happened behind the scenes? They reviewed over 400 candidates after Steve Thomas exited, but after 1 day on a basement set, sitting in beach chairs with This Old House creator Russell Marash, Kevin got the call. No flashy interview, no formal panel, just a handshake and a host offer. Marash later said he saw in Kevin exactly what he needed. Energy blended with optimism, the rare combo that keeps homeowners going through chaos. But imagine the weight behind that open basement scene. A lifetime pivot wrapped into a few casual moments. Once Kevin stepped onto the set in 2003, reality hit fast. He was handed a shovel by Richard Trethewey, the no-nonsense plumbing guru, instantly. This wasn't staged. It was back-breaking work. Trenches, pipes, and sweat under the sun. Each blister became proof. Kevin was there to earn respect, not just read lines. And that's when something shifted. The first crack in his polished corporate veneer. Next, master carpenter Tom Silva didn't offer props. He handed Kevin real lumber and told him to build. No camera angles softened the edges. Every inaccurate cut, every hesitant swing of the hammer showed on screen. But these moments weren't failures. They were growing pains. Kevin became one of the crew, not just their voice. Viewers at home recognized that struggle, that willingness to learn, and something clicked. They weren't watching a host. They were watching their own journey. What sent shockwaves through critics came in just 1 year. In 2004, Kevin received an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Service Show Host. That nomination didn't just come out of luck. It exploded expectations. Here was a finance guy who had never done TV, mastering the craft faster than anyone. And that nomination was a statement. Audiences and industry both said, "This is real." They saw honesty. They saw dedication. They saw someone who earned every step. Kevin realized early that he wasn't built for managing from the sidelines. He thrived in the trenches. He didn't just ask questions. He wielded tools. He didn't coach from afar. He built alongside the pros. And as that change settled in, the dynamic of the show transformed. Instead of teaching from a distance, he learned publicly, making each expert's instructions a shared experience with viewers. That authenticity became the engine of connection, more powerful than any polished intro. That same realness carried over to Ask This Old House, which started in 2002 as a casual magazine-style offshoot. But once Kevin stepped in, it became something else. A platform for real homeowners facing real problems. Every tape measure, every sanding stroke came from someone who knew the frustration of mid-project panic. He took that one email about wallpaper and turned it into tens of millions of viewers asking him their questions. His unanswered question became the moment viewers identified with. By 2025, Kevin was more than the face of these shows. He was shaping them. He joined the editorial board of This Old House magazine, guiding stories across TV, print, and digital. His journey from finance executive to franchise leader felt almost impossible. Yet, there he was, an integral part of a brand that had defined generations. But he didn't stop innovating. In 2003, the same year he began hosting, he launched Inside This Old House, a behind-the-scenes series diving into the franchise's most unforgettable renovations. The most shocking part, he juggled hosting This Old House, Ask This Old House, Inside This Old House, and a demanding role at Bank of America, all at once. He didn't quit his corporate job until he was sure he could make media his lifelong career. That caution wasn't a lack of ambition. It was thoughtful, structural foresight, much like a well-built house. The industry watched as he continued to climb. In 2010, Kevin bridged PBS and commercial cable, stepping into a new show on DIY Network with Amy Matthews. It featured smart home innovation and modern building methods, landing 2 Emmy nods and proving he could educate and entertain across audiences. He'd moved smoothly from public television to cable. No awkward transition, just credibility and calm confidence. His next move came in 2011, a coffee table book. The best homes from this old house arrived laden with over 200 photos and stories with longtime friend and photographer Mike Casey. fans got an intimate tour of the show's most stunning transformations. It wasn't scaffolding, they were stories. Within months, the book soared, and Kevin secured a permanent role in shaping the franchise's voice, every platform included. He channels that energy into defending heritage craftsmanship. Say something negative about century-old techniques, and Kevin jumps in. He argues that builders back then made smart decisions with the materials they had: coal, chalk, timber, and built homes that last. Modern builders, too, often knock these methods without context, he says, but understanding that story matters. He's also taken on the tiny house trend, pointing out that size doesn't always mean sustainability. A well-built 5,000-square-foot home can outperform a poorly constructed 1,000-square-foot one. That sparked debates even with green living advocates. But Kevin stands firm. Nuance matters. Behind the voice, though, is a man who's built considerable wealth. Reports say he now pulls in around $10,000 per episode across This Old House and Ask This Old House, with over 380 episodes by 2022, just from TV dollars. Compare that to Bob Vila's modest $200 to $800 per episode, and Kevin's earning comes into sharp relief. His net worth is estimated between $5 million and $17.8 million, depending on the source. That's just the beginning. Kevin earns $15,000 to $50,000 per speaking engagement, sharing insights on the future of contracting, like his March 2024 keynote at the Spray Foam Expo in Las Vegas. These gigs aren't just money, they're influence, expanding his reach into manufacturers and industry leaders. He's not just a TV host, he's an authority. Then there's his savvy investment side. Before TV, Kevin structured multi-million-dollar loans at Fleet Bank and Bank of America. Now he's plowed his take-home into equity. He owns over 46,000 shares of Carrier Global, CAR, worth around $3.2 million, and in 2024 sold $14.6 million in stock, leaving him with a stake worth millions. That insider trading savvy adds an estimated $1.5 million in annual returns. He owns an 1894 Queen Anne Victorian home in Hamilton, Massachusetts, a real-life showcase that speaks to his respect for craftsmanship over flash. Here's the celebrity breakdown. Kevin's collection includes vintage Land Rovers and pickups, vehicles that echo his hands-on image, paired with a luxury Tudor-style Victorian home and a significant stock portfolio. His watch collection reportedly features understated Swiss pieces, a nod to durability over showmanship. He chairs speaking engagements and owns strategic equity in construction firms, podcast networks, and the This Old Toolbox tool rental platform. And as for insurance, industry insiders say he carries premium career and life policies, part of his foundation of structure mindset. The story of Kevin O'Connor closes not with the fall of a hammer, but with the quiet closing of a chapter. After nearly 22 years leading This Old House, weathering changes in cast, format, and cultural tides, he's laid a foundation that goes far beyond what first aired in 2003. He's a builder of ideas, systems, and legacies, raising the stakes for what home improvement TV can become. What's next for Kevin? Will he maintain this balance of heritage and innovation? His past shows us someone who builds slowly, with integrity, and always considers the long game. The next moves could redefine not just This Old House, but what even a media personality can build. And so we close this chapter, but his story continues. Maybe that's the real legacy. Not the homes renovated, but the conversations he started, the standards he raised, and the bridge he built between past and future. What he leaves behind is more than TV. It's a blueprint, And maybe the biggest question is, who will follow it? Thanks for journeying with us. If you thought this was compelling, wait until you see what the next generation does with the tools Kevin left them.